Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Paul Jay. Welcome back to our series on 23 things they don't tell you about capitalism. And joining us again is Ha-Joon Chang. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you.
So we're on to thing 2, although as we do things, we're kind of jumping around.
Yeah.
But anyway, companies should not be run in the interest of their owners. So that's sacrilegious. How could you say such a
That's
thing?
right. Yeah. No,
Our duty is to our shareholders, they
exactly.
say.
Yeah. No, we have been told repeatedly that people take better care of things, be they physical things like a house or a notional thing like a company, when they have ownership stake. Yeah? So the companies are owned by shareholders, and therefore companies should be run in the interest of the shareholders. That's the best for the company. And if what you do is good for the company, it's good for the national economy as well. So everyone benefits. Now, we have bought into this logic in a massive way, while we are feeling quite uncomfortable by the fact that these shareholder-driven companies have been doing a lot of nasty things. I mean, shutting down plants, sacking people. So, on the one hand, you philosophically agree that we should let companies be run in the interest of the shareholders, while we are suffering from all this.
But they're saying that's efficiency, and you need this toughness of self-interested shareholders to introduce real efficiencies.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what they say. But what has been actually happening is because these shareholders, despite being legal owners, today millions of people own shares in a company, so no one really has a long-term stake. They can leave at the click of a mouse, by selling the share. So actually, these shareholders are very impatient. They want result, now. I mean, they want it.
But in some companies, you have like Warren Buffett's position in Coca-Cola, or you have shareholders that are essentially billionaires, not small shareholders, who own such a big stake in the company. It's not so easy for them to sell.
That's right. Yeah. Those are exceptions. But today, for example, General Motors, even though, at one point there was the shareholder Icon was someone who owned 10% of the company. Basically, in the last 30 years, the professional managers have basically decided to run the company in the interest of floating shareholders, because if you don't be nice to them, they basically begin to sell their shares in such a way that your company is taken over by a hostile.
Right. Yeah. But if you don't run it in the interest of your shareholders, who does management run it in the interest of? Because what's happening now, especially in the banking sector, but some other places, is CEOs and senior management may not actually be all that worried about shareholders. They run it in the interest of themselves.
No, of course.
And even make bad business decisions if it gives them big bonuses.
Yeah, no. But this is actually what I call an unholy alliance between the professional managers and floating shareholders. So floating shareholders demand short-term profit. Yeah? The best way to get short-term profit is to sack everyone you can think of, not invest in anything that brings return in the long term. Equipment, research, training. The professional managers actually do not care, because by the time the effect of these decisions kick in and your company decline, probably you are in another job. Maybe you are
now
retired.
There's some companies that have more longer term planning. You just have to say Google does, and some of the other bigger tech firms.
Yeah, I'm generalizing. So that there are.
But if they don't run it in the interest of shareholders, and if management doesn't run it in the interest of them enriching themselves, who are they going to run it in the interest of? Because how are they going to run it in the interest of society unless society has some kind of ownership stake?
No, exactly. So this is why a lot of countries have arrangements to give voice to, for example, trade unions, or the local community or other so-called stakeholders. So once again, Americans should not believe that the American way is the only way to run capitalism. Go to Germany. All the major companies have two-tier board structure. And on top of the managerial board, you have this supervisory board, where half the members are selected by the trade unions. And this supervisory board has to give approval to big decisions like shutting down plants, agreeing to the merger or the taking over some other company. And as a result, a lot of naturally resistance have been built into the system towards this American-style hostile takeover. In the whole 60 years of history of post-Second War German history, there were something like only 2 or 3 hostile takeovers of any major company. And the German economies are as well as the American economies, so don't think that by involving other stakeholders like the employees or the suppliers or the consumers or the local community that you're actually going to ruin the country, ruin the company. Actually, the American way has ruined the companies because it has led to companies basically making decisions that boost profit in the short run, but undermine the position of the company in the long run. You know, that this has become so embarrassing that even Jack Welch, the guru of this the shareholder value movement, has recently come out and said that shareholder value maximization was, and I'm quoting him, the dumbest idea in the world, you know. So you have to think again. I mean, this myth that, yes, I mean, this the hard-edged American way is the best way to make money. Actually, you know, that the root cause of the current financial crisis is in those things.
But if you're going to impose more of a social mandate on companies, like for example, there's in Canada, in London, Ontario, there's a Ford plant that at its height employed 5,000 people. Apparently this fall it's likely to close down.
Yeah.
Ford has decided in its global manufacturing operations, this plant doesn't have a role to play anymore. The only way to have some community say in the closure of that plant is if there was some either by law, regulation, or at the level of ownership.
Yeah.
And certainly in the auto industry, you'd think there's an argument, given that the auto industry would be right down the toilet if it hadn't been for public money.
Yeah.
But I'm not finding you arguing for more kind of forms of public ownership as a way.
Oh no,
of
I
making
mean
this make
it's
more sense.
one of the ways. I mean, you know, I'm quite open-minded about the practical tools we use. But let me give you an example. I mean, in the 1970s, actually, Volkswagen, the German car company, went bankrupt. In the way, say, General Motors has recently. It was saved by the state government of Lower Saxony, where the Volkswagen headquarters is. And it still had, the state government still has a 90% stake in the company. And when they bailed it out, in return, they actually demanded that there's this law installed, which demands that Volkswagen, when trying to shut down factories and so, at least in Germany, will have to get the approval of the state government of Lower Saxony. You can use something like that. And actually, the amazing thing this time around is that the American government, the British government, they give all this money to the bankrupt companies, practically nationalize them, become the biggest shareholder, and they can even tell the employers what to do. You know, I mean, this is so outrageous. I mean, you are not even playing by the capitalist rule. Capitalist rule says that if you have the majority stake in a company, you can basically tell your employees to do whatever you want to do.
You tell the board, and like in the case of General Motors,
exactly, yeah,
they could have told General Motors, for example, we campaigned and got elected on a green agenda, so how about doing something about it? But they never said a word about it.
No, but I mean, you know, these people are now even not even playing by the rule of capitalism. For them, nothing affects their wealth.
Okay, in the next segment of our interview, we're going to go to number 3 thing. Most people in rich countries are paid more than they should be. Okay, join us on the next segment of our interview on 23 things they didn't tell you about capitalism, but we think they should have. Thanks for joining us, and join us again.